Albus Dumbledore, and Babbity Rabbity and her Cackling Stump. The story of Babbity Rabbity and her Cackling Stump is, in many ways, the most real of Beedle's tales. In the magic described in the story conforms almost entirely to known magical laws. It was through this story that many of us first discovered that magic could not bring back the dead. And a great disappointment and shock it was, convinced as we had been as young children that our parents could be able to awaken our dead rats and cats with one wave of their wands. Though some 6 centuries have elapsed since Beedle wrote this tale, and while we have devised innumerable ways of maintaining the illusion of our loved ones' continuing presence, wizards still have not found a way of reuniting body and soul once death has occurred. As the eminent wizardian philosopher Bertrand de Pensées Profondis writes in his celebrated work, a study into the possibility of reversing the actual and metaphysical effects of natural death with particular regard to the reintegration of essence and matter. Give up. It's never going to happen. The tale of Babbity Rabbity does, however, give us one of the earliest literary mentions of an Animagus. For Babbity, the washerwoman, is possessed of the rare magical ability to transform into an animal at will. Animagi make up a small fraction of the wizarding population. Achieving perfect, spontaneous human-to-animal transformation requires much study and practice, and many witches and wizards consider that their time might be better employed in other ways. Certainly, the application of such a talent is limited unless one has a great need of disguise or concealment. It is for this reason that the Ministry of Magic has insisted upon a register of Animagi, for there can be no doubt that this kind of magic is of greatest use to those engaged in surreptitious, covert, or even criminal activity. Whether there was ever a washerwoman who was able to transform into a rabbit is open to doubt. However, some magical historians have suggested that Beedle modeled Babbity on the famous French sorceress Lisette de Lapine, who was convicted of witchcraft in Paris in 1422, to the astonishment of her Muggle guards, who were later tried for helping the witch to escape. Lisette vanished from her prison cell the night before she was due to be executed. Although it has never been proven that Lisette was an Animagus who managed to squeeze through the bars of her cell window, a large white rabbit was subsequently seen crossing the English Channel in a cauldron with a sail fitted to it. And a similar rabbit later became a trusted advisor of the court of King Henry VI. The king in Beedle's story is a foolish Muggle who both combats and fears magic. He believes that he can become a wizard simply by learning incantations and waving a wand. He is completely ignorant of the true nature of magic and wizards, and therefore swallows the preposterous suggestions of both the charlatan and Babbity. This is certainly typical of a particular type of Muggle thinking. In their ignorance, they are prepared to accept all sorts of impossibilities about magic, including the proposition that Babbity has turned herself into a tree that can still think and talk. It is worth nothing at this point, however, that while Beedle used the talking tree device to show us how ignorant the Muggle King is, he also asked us to believe that Babbity can talk while she's a rabbit. This might be poetic license, but I think it's more likely that Beedle had only heard about Animagi and never met one. For this is the only liberty that he takes with magical laws in the story. Animagi do not retain the power of human speech while in their animal form, although they keep all their human thinking and reasoning powers. This, as every school child knows, is the fundamental difference between being an animagus and transfiguring oneself into an animal. In the case of the latter, one would become the animal entirely, with the consequence that one would know no magic, be unaware that one had ever been a wizard, and would need somebody else to transfigure one back to one's original form. I think it's possible that in choosing to make his heroine pretend to turn into a tree and threaten the king with pain like an axe struck in his own side, Beedle was inspired by real magical traditions and practices. Trees with one quality would have always been fiercely protected by the wand makers who tend them, and cutting down such trees to steal them risks incurring not only the malice of the Bowtruckles, usually nesting there, but also the ill effect of any protective curses placed around them by their owners. In Beedle's time, the Cruciatus curse had not yet been made illegal by the Minister of Magic, and could have produced precisely the sensation with which Babbity threatens the king.